Jared Goff. Oh, will everyone take note of the resurgence that is occurring for Jared Goff, please? Just a great story to see in the NFL for Jared Goff as he has the Lions one win away from winning the NFC North division. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about the Lions having a golden opportunity to win the NFC North division title as they have not won their division since 1993. All the Lions have to do is win one out of their last 3 games in order to win the NFC North division. For context, the last time the Lions won their division was when they were in the NFC Central, a division that they were a part of during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. How much credit do you give Jared Goff for turning around the Lions? Honestly, I gotta say that he deserves a main chunk of the credit for the turnaround of the Detroit Lions. Am I saying that he deserves 100% of the credit? No. Am I saying that he deserves Tom Brady-like credit for turning around the Patriots? No. What I am saying for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions is that you gotta give Jared Goff a lot of credit for the turnaround of the Lions because of the fact that he has been super durable for them even through their struggles, and the fact that he has been an incredible leader for the Detroit Lions. He might not put up the best numbers in the world, but his numbers are certainly pretty good. Jared Goff has been efficient with the football in his hands this season. Jared Goff has completed 67.1% of his passes. He's thrown for almost 4,000 passing yards. He's got 26 touchdowns on the year, and he's got 10 picks on the year as well. When you look at Jared Goff, he's on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards. He's on pace to throw for over 30 touchdowns. Matter of fact, he has played so well to the point where you can say that he has revived back to 2018 Jared Goff, where he was a really good player for the team, and he took the Los Angeles Rams to the Super Bowl that year. Well, he's about to do the impossible for the Detroit Lions right now. I cannot believe that I'm saying this out of my own mouth, but the Detroit Lions are going to win their division. Who would have thought that when Jared Goff first joined the Detroit Lions? Before the season started, I predicted the Detroit Lions would win the NFC North division. That was a bold pick at the time. Well, you look at the Detroit Lions right now, all they got to do is just win one out of their final 3 games in order to win the NFC North division, something that they haven't done since 1993. The last time that I existed in 1993, I wasn't even close to being born. For the people that are watching this video, you guys probably weren't even alive the last time the Detroit Lions won the division, because most of the people that watch the content on this channel are in their 20s. I got a pretty young audience out there, but for the old heads that managed to see the Detroit Lions win the division, you guys have to feel pretty strange about it, because it's weird to see the Detroit Lions actually be a good football team. Well, that's exactly what they've done. You look at what the Lions have offensively. They got Jahmyr Gibbs, they got David Montgomery. They're really good players. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown, an underrated wide receiver. They got Jameson Williams, speed receiver. They got Sam Laporta, who's having a historic season for a tight end. Holy cow, Sam Laporta looks like the second coming of Rob Gronkowski. That's how good Sam Laporta has been. I can't believe that he hasn't been getting more national media attention considering how good Sam Laporta has played. Sam Laporta is baby Gronk in my mind. Then you look at the coaching of the Detroit Lions. You look at the fact that they got Dan Campbell, a great culture tone setter. He has built the culture of the Detroit Lions. He has turned around their culture of losing that existed for 60 plus years into a culture of winning. The Detroit Lions are not only going to make the playoffs, but they're going to have a winning season in 2 consecutive seasons, something that you don't say about the Detroit Lions quite often. Then of course you look at their offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. That was a home run hire pick for Dan Campbell. Ben Johnson is probably one of the best offensive coordinators in all of football. He has done an incredible job being able to get the most out of Jared Goff. You look at how Ben Johnson has essentially become the new Sean McVay. That's how good Ben Johnson has been for the Detroit Lions. It also helps when you have an elite offensive line. You look at the Detroit Lions offensive line, you have to think, oh my goodness, they're actually top 3 in the entire NFL. Only the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers have better offensive lines than the Detroit Lions. When you look at the Lions O-line, they are physical, they reset the line of scrimmage, and they get after it. There is just a certain level of toughness that the Detroit Lions have that other teams don't have. When you look at this Lions team, they are rootable, they are authentic, they are fun to watch, and they are physical, hard-nosed. They have a mix of old school and new school written all over themselves. And you look at this Detroit Lions team, you're thinking, wow, they are a pretty good football team. They like to go for it a lot on 4th down, and they convert a lot of 4th downs. They've had some ugly losses this year, but when they've won big. And you look at the Detroit Lions and you're thinking their offense is going to be pretty stacked when you look at their roster, and defensively they're not too bad on that side of the field either. Before the season started, I had concerns about the defense of the Detroit Lions, and although the defense has still been struggling, they've gotten better compared to last season in that regard. You look at how Aiden Hutchinson has developed into one of the best premier pass rushers in the National Football League. You look at the fact that Brian Branch has had an underrated season at the safety position for the Detroit Lions, and you look at how their defense has had their moments. And with an offense that can score like the Detroit Lions, if their defense can just be average, they're going to win a lot of games, and that's exactly what they've done. They're one of the reasons why the Detroit Lions are a 10-win team in the NFC, which is something that you can't say about a lot of NFC teams, because right now it looks like only 4 teams are on pace to win 10 or more games this year in the NFC, so not a lot of great competition there as well. But hey, you can only play who's on the schedule, and the Detroit Lions have taken care of business against the teams that they're supposed to beat. The Detroit Lions this year, outside of the game where they played against the Bears in the cold, have played really well when it comes to beating teams that they're supposed to beat. And you know what that means when a team is beating a team that they're supposed to beat? That means that they are being well coached and well prepared. That means that they're doing the right things during the week in practice. As far as the percentages that I want to give in terms of the shares of the turnaround of the Detroit Lions, well, I want to give Jared Goff 40% of the credit for the turnaround of the Detroit Lions because he plays the quarterback position. He is the leader of the Detroit Lions, and you look at the fact how he has been one of the most durable passers in all of football. Yeah, his stats might not be the best in the National Football League. He might not be an MVP candidate, but you look at the intangibles that Jared Goff has been bringing in week in and week out, you have to say that's a pretty good job for what Jared Goff has done. So obviously, I got to give Jared Goff a ton of credit. And then, of course, you look at Dan Campbell. He's the head coach. He's the one that set the tone of the culture of the Detroit Lions. He has been an incredible leader for them. I remember when he was first hired by the Lions, he was talking about biting kneecaps. Well, they've been biting opponents week in and week out because they've been doing nothing but winning more often than not. I know that this number is going to sound really low, but I'm going to give Dan Campbell 20% of the credit for the turnaround of the Detroit Lions because of the fact that he does need a good team around him in order to be successful, but he also knows how to set a culture really good, and he set the standard really high, and players love playing for Dan Campbell. So I got to give a shout out to Dan Campbell. He's had an incredible year. If he wins Coach of the Year, I'm not going to be surprised by that. I mean, I got to give 20% of the credit to Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He's done an incredible job with what he has been able to do offensively, getting Jahmyr Gibbs the football, getting David Montgomery some touchdowns in the red zone, getting Jameson Williams going on the deep game, getting Amon-Ra St. Brown to look like one of the best receivers in all of football, and getting Sam Laporta to play like baby Rob Gronkowski. And then you look at the elite offensive line that the Detroit Lions have, it's no wonder that Ben Johnson is the one that is making all of that work, because Ben Johnson is an offensive mastermind. He, in my mind, is the new Sean McVay. He needs to be a head coach in the National Football League next year because this guy knows how to get the most out of his offensive unit. And then, of course, I got to give the rest of the team 20% of the turnaround of the Detroit Lions. I know all of those percentages sound low, but when you add it all up, it adds up to 100% of the shares. So obviously, everybody in the Detroit Lions played a huge role in the turnaround of the Lions from the culture of losing into a culture of winning. You look at the Lions' schedule in their last 3 games, all they have to do is win one of those games and they win the NFC North because they get to play the Vikings twice in a 3-game stretch in order to finish out the season. The Vikings don't even have their starting quarterback available. They don't even have their backup or third-string quarterback playing for them at this point. They are actually playing on Nick Mullins at this point. So the Detroit Lions, they have a golden opportunity to just beat the Vikings one time in order to win the division. And then sandwiched between that is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think they're going to beat the Cowboys because of the fact that the Cowboys don't lose games at home. The Cowboys are really good when they play at home, not so much when they play on the road, but when they play at home, they're a really good football team. So I don't expect the Detroit Lions to beat the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings this week. They're going to go ahead and go into Minnesota and they're going to beat them because they can smell the blood in the water. All they have to do is win one of those 3 games and they win the NFC North division, and they're going to do it. They have been playing really good football all year long, and that's not going to change when playing against the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are 7-7, but they don't look like a good football team whatsoever. The only reason why they're 7-7 this year is because of the fact that they keep winning 1-score games. But against the Detroit Lions, I don't expect the Minnesota Vikings to come victorious against them because of the fact that the Vikings have the worst quarterback compared to the Detroit Lions, and the fact that the Vikings defense is inconsistent. If Jared Goff plays a really good game, they're going to get the win. I expect the Detroit Lions to win. It's not going to be easy, but they're going to get the job done, and I think the Detroit Lions are going to finish the season either 11-6 or 12-5. They're going to get the job done one way or another. As far as what NFL fans aren't telling you about Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, they're not telling you that Jared Goff has had a resurgent season for the Detroit Lions and that he has become one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. The disrespect that Jared Goff gets week in and week out needs to stop because he is one of the better quarterbacks in the National Football League. So that is why I give 40% of the credit for Jared Goff, as he played a pretty decent role in turning around their culture of losing into a culture of winning for the Lions. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking. like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.